This is, what is this called again? This is Beautiful Summer Music for July by Fantasy and World Music by the Fitchers. This is on my summertime playlist. I figured since we're in the midst of July, actually, middle of July right now, summer is actually, even with all the stuff going on right now, is blowing by real good. It'll be midsummer in a couple weeks, which means August, early August, which is midsummer. So we're on July 18th right now. This is episode 358 of Dylan Knows Root Beer Milk, which we'll talk about a little bit later in the show. It is also day 117 of my quarantine. It has been 117 days since I was last at work. So I've been in quarantine for that long. So I'm in the triple digits now. So that's wonderful. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about some great stuff coming up today, and also great stuff coming up today. We had, after the last few weeks of not as many deaths in the world, we had a surge of deaths this week, and some big ones, particularly yesterday and the beginning of the week as well. We'll talk about that. We're going to talk about the aforementioned root beer milk. We'll talk about the 30th anniversary of Northern Exposure, the 20th anniversary of the X-Men movie. The Gestapo is in town, so yippee. Walmart's making news. The Redskins are making news also. Kangaroos, Fortnite, Allison Victoria, friend of the show, made news this week. Major League Baseball has some stories. One in particular that's not very good for the Toronto Blue Jays. Walking Sharks, which I think we talked about last week, but I'm going to talk about again. The Bomb is 70 years old this week. Dancing with the Stars has been revamped. Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. are reteaming for something interesting that's not Avengers related, but actually kind of nice. Walking Dead is back in the news again also for something that I'm just sort of like, I'm not so such a great idea about that. The Shadow is going to be back in books, which I think is fantastic. Can't wait to see that. Burger King's in the news. We get some Christmas news this week as well. Yes, that's what I said. I said Christmas music. Not Christmas music, I said Christmas news. And finally, an app that lets you de-stress in a very unique way. I'm going to talk about that as well. Along with a whole bunch of, and the PP plush, which would have been a good alternate episode name for this episode. So I'm actually going to start with something political. So, just get through this, and then I won't get too political until near the end of the show. But I figured it's a good way to bookend the show because there's something that happened this week that's really, really scary, and I'm going to bookend it with something that at the same time that this happened, there was something funny that happened in the same location. So we're going to bookend that. Anyway, the idiot in charge has decided to quell protesting in Portland, Oregon. They dispatched unmarked cars, people in camouflage that had no identification who were kidnapping protesters, throwing them into cars and driving off with them. This is what Hitler's Gestapo did, people. And I hate seeing today, I read some comments from people that, I usually would have respected, but they're uneducated and ignorant, and they don't quite grasp what's actually going on, because when they hear protest, all they hear is they're burning down buildings and wrecking buildings, and they deserve what they get because they shouldn't be wrecking buildings because of just think about our hardworking small business owners. Well, these protesters were peaceful, you freaking morons. Read a freaking book, watch something other than Fox News, and listen to the news and get through your racist attitudes, for God's sakes. This is a scary thing. This was a test run in Portland, and I'm telling you that this is going to become the norm very shortly. In fact, I think someone said, Pence or something said, that they're going to dispatch these types of unmarked, unidentified people to quell protesters across the country, which is Gestapo tactics. And I know this because I'm educated, and also I just finished reading a book by Eric Larson called In the Garden of Beasts, which was discussing the rise of Hitler through the eyes of the American ambassador in Germany. And the exact same thing happened. The Gestapo took people off the road that they found unsavory and held them without charging them with a crime and without letting them have a chance to defend themselves or call a lawyer, which is anti-American, by the way. It is called fascism, and we fought a whole freaking war about it. But you all don't give a damn because you're ignorant, uneducated assholes learn something. God, I wish I could just slap you. All right, I'm good. All right, so I got that out of my... That being said, I will cover something better at the end of the show, which will be a nice little connective thread to this. On the different side, root beer milk, hence the name of this episode, is apparently something. There's a picture of something called root beer milk in a that was posted on Facebook. It was not photoshopped, and to me, it just sounds like, a root beer float, really, but in a gallon format and without ice cream, but with melted ice cream. But they called it root beer milk. So basically, I bet it would taste like a root beer float, but for whatever reason, they're calling it root beer milk because it might be melted ice cream in it. But that's what that's about. So root beer milk is a thing, and actually, I wouldn't mind trying it. I haven't seen it anywhere, but I'd like to give it a try. Back when the Snark Alex were the Snark Alex, a long time ago, one of our friends of our show, the Snark Alex show, was a B-movie actress who's been in a number of the sci-fi movies that we used to watch, Allison Victoria. I still follow her on Facebook and Twitter, and and Instagram. She's been showing off pictures of her pregnant belly. Well, she had her baby last night, a girl by the name of Goldie Mila. Goldie Mila Wolf, because Allison Victoria's married name is Wolf. Unfortunately, Goldie's having a little bit of trouble breathing, so she's currently in the NICU on a ventilator, helping her breathe, but hopefully that'll be nothing too serious, and she'll be okay in a day or so. Allison and her husband have been able to see the baby and hold on to her, and they tried skin-to-skin contact, and it seemed to help a little bit, so hopefully that'll be good. Goldie was 6 pounds 5 ounces, I think, which is not too small, but not too big, and I think she was premature by about 5 weeks. So thoughts and prayers out to Victoria, but I think everything's going to work out fine for her and her family. So hooray. It photographed 2 rats fighting in the middle of the street. And the unique thing about that is the photographer also videotaped a cat who was watching the fight in interest, just watching these 2 rats fight each other in the middle of the road. It's a funny video. You ought to check it out for yourself. I guess just type in cat watches rats fight or rat fight with cat or something like that, and you'll see it very soon. Feral peacock in the Oakland suburbs screams relentlessly even at night. I mean, so there's a peacock that is wandering the streets of Oakland, which is a pretty big city outside of San Francisco, and it's keeping up the residents of the suburb up at night because it keeps screaming even at nighttime. So that's an interesting little animal aspect as well. Another interesting aspect is the Fort Lauderdale police arrested and put in jail an escaped kangaroo found on the streets. So they actually arrested the kangaroo and threw him in jail, which I guess is for the kangaroo's own protection and for the protection of other people as well. Don't know how a kangaroo got onto the streets of Fort Lauderdale, but here we are. So that's interesting. This is great news. One of my favorite comic books that's been out for years by one of the nicest guys in the business, Stan Sakai, Usagi Yojimbo, about a rabbit samurai without a master, hence the Yojimbo. Has been going through a whole bunch of different, was in Dark Horse for a while, is in IDW now, and has been all over the place, did its own stuff. He's been around forever, has crossed over with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, had his own action figure for a while there in the 90s when the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were huge, and he crossed over. Well, Netflix is going to be producing an animated version of Usagi Yojimbo, and I think it's absolutely brilliant, and I hope it's here like yesterday because I want to watch it now. But we're going to have to wait till it gets done. So probably sometime by later this year or early next year. But it'll be great to see, and Stan Sakai is involved with it. So it should be great to see how they end up doing that. Walmart is making mask wearing mandatory, and that did not go over well with a few people. A man pulled out a gun on someone for not wearing his mask. And another shopper hit a policeman with a car after being told that they needed to wear a mask as well. So these complete and utter morons who have no idea what is going on, who need to be educated as well, are hitting police officers and threatening to shoot people because they're not wearing a mask to protect other people. And that just is something that just makes me just want to smack people around again. I think I got some other stories later on in this episode about people being idiots about masks again, and we'll get to them in a little bit. Man collects $95 million jackpot dressed as Darth Vader to prevent people to prevent people from knowing who he is, so that they don't try to sponge money off him. Now, that's the big thing, is there's always going to be some sort of photo op with the person who wins the money with their name and stuff like that. And I think you have the right not to say your name or show up dressed something else, or someone's dressed as Deadpool. I think once someone dressed up in a paper bag mask so that nobody would know who they were, so that they won't get people constantly asking for money for them or trying to extort them. Makes sense to me. The closest picture of the sun ever taken was taken this week, and it reveals what NASA calls mysterious campfires, which are little individual areas of fire that are appearing on the surface of the sun in different areas. It's not one big explosive fire. It's a bunch made up of a bunch of little fires all across the surface. So that's kind of pretty cool. There's a new hot sauce out there called Shit the Bed hot sauce, because if anyone has ever had hot sauce, they know it does a number to your stomach, yet people enjoy it. Go figure. WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier have been delayed to 2021. There was hope that maybe WandaVision might be able to make it out by the end of 2020, but due to them extending the series by a couple of episodes, which I think they would rather do instead of having it done and out early, that they get a few more episodes out the window. Look for it in the spring of 2021, both of them probably to show up around the same time instead of scattered out. So we'll see what happens. The Golden Girls house, the house that was just the exterior of that was shot for the exterior of the show, has been sold for $3 million in Florida. So it's like the Brady Bunch house, which didn't look like the Brady Bunch house in the TV show until the Brady Bunch, their older selves, joined up with HGTV, bought the house when it went up for sale to turn it into a Brady Bunch museum, and converted the house into what it looked like from the TV show. Which is still kind of a neat idea. Speaking of TV shows, my daughter is a huge Sims 4 fan, and she came down last night at about 11 and said, yeah, I was playing The Sims, and I saw an ad for this show called Sparked that's going to be on TBS at 11 o'clock on Fridays. Can we watch it? And I was like, yeah, it's fine. It's Friday. You're 13 years old. It's fine. So she came down and we watched Sparked, which is a reality show about The Sims. Basically, it's a lot like your Face Off or these other reality shows where you have 3 judges, and then you cast a bunch of experts in The Sims, and you throw competitions at them, and they have to make builds and create stories and characters, and then they get judged by the judges, and whoever has the best ones, wins, and whoever doesn't gets kicked out. It's like Face Off, where you had the movie makeup for the stuff like that, but instead it's for the Sims game show. We watched the first episode. It was enjoyable. It was what you expected from a reality show. It's a lot like Face Off and stuff like that, though I think that the time frame they gave them to create their builds is a little short, and they need to open it up a little bit more. They gave them a 5-hour window to create 2 families, a house with fully furnished, and the yards and stuff like that, and a movie and a storyline and characters. So it takes a long time to do that. You can't just throw it in a blender and go, oh, we'll see what happens. So I think they need to work on that a little bit. Netflix is counting on the Russo brothers and Chris Evans and Ryan Gosling. They discovered during the pandemic they've got 90 million new subscribers. I think that's what it said. And because of that, they feel emboldened that they have decided to create and make a $200 million budgeted film to only appear on Netflix, not in movie theaters, only on Netflix, that is going to star Chris Evans and Ryan Gosling. And it's going to be directed by the Russo brothers, who did the last 2 Avengers movies and the last 2 Captain America movies. It is called The Gray Man, and they are hoping that it's going to be a franchise similar to James Bond. It's similar to like that. It's like a secret agent sort of thing. Ryan Gosling is the hero, and in this one, Chris Evans will play the bad guy. So Netflix is hoping that this will do good, considering that Charlize Theron's The Old Guard has made a ton of money, or has had tons of views and broke records again. It makes sense to throw this in there, and they will probably, be able to recoup their money by getting subscribers and keeping subscribers and stuff like that. I'm not sure exactly how the streaming services work with money, but that's something you need to do. There was a teaser trailer came out this week for the sci-fi Chucky TV show based on Child's Play. I've discussed on the show before. They've actually started making it, so they showed a teaser trailer of it. So it is a real thing, and it'll be coming to sci-fi probably just in time for Halloween, probably. So it's been being worked on. So, yay. Woman was nearly decapitated after a flying turtle smashes into her car's windshield. That's just, I don't know how a turtle went flying and fast enough that it crashed into a woman's windshield to her car and almost decapitated her, but it's still kind of a scary sort of situation that was, well, it did happen. I mean, so I don't know how it happened, but it did happen. A new thing that I still haven't gotten my new grill yet. We're going now about a month after when I should have gotten it. We went on vacation for a week, and then just I thought my wife was going to do a bit more of the research and just buy one. She asked what I wanted. I said, I don't care. Just, whatever one you want. Show me a picture and I'll say it's okay. But she hasn't done any research for me. So I've done a little. I think I picked one, and hopefully maybe this week I'll get it. But that being said, there's something called a nonstick barbecue grill mat, which actually looks really interesting. It is a mat you put on your grill that will keep the heat and maybe even make it a little bit more stronger. It's black, and you can put your food on it so that any cheese or goop or whatever will go onto these mats and not on your grill. And then once you're done cooking, you eat and stuff like that. When you're cleaning up, all you do is pull those off, rinse them off, or run through the dishwasher or whatever, and they're ready for the next time to do it. And your grill remains clean. That's one of the downfalls, I think, with my grill. I don't think I ever cleaned it because I just never felt I needed to, since I didn't use it as much as I thought I did. Plus, I'd heard that it's good to keep some of the old cooked on grease and fat. It adds a little bit more flavor to the food you have. So we'll see what happens. But if I can find those, that might actually be kind of a neat idea to look into. Maybe I'll check Amazon, see if they have them. Let me see. I just thought about that. I'm not saying I'm going to get them, but non-stick BBQ mat. Yeah, there they are. Renook grill mat set of 6, 100% non-stick barbecue grill mats, heavy duty, reusable. Only $19. I can get them on Tuesday. What I think I might do is I might just save this to my add to cart. And save for later. So I'll put that on my list. So we'll see what happens. Maybe I will get it. Maybe I won't. We'll see. But hey, they're on there. And so yay. Speaking of Amazon, Jeff Bezos made the news today or this week. As of the Washington Redskins. Obviously, last week I told you the Redskins are going to be retiring the Redskins name for this season, and the new name is going to be revealed soon. But the reason why they haven't revealed it yet is because this week there was a bombshell that actually a local sports woman by the name of Lindsay, who gets a lot of shit on Twitter for no reason, said that there's something big coming down from DC. Stay tuned. She was the first person to acknowledge it, and then all of a sudden all the shit hit the fan. Their longtime announcer decided to leave, and then 15 cheerleaders for the Redskins are suing Dan Snyder and members of the previous Redskins coaching staff and executives for sexual harassment. They said, I think they took a trip over to Russia or something like that to promote the Redskins, get people to buy their stuff and cheer for them. And they forced the cheerleaders to be topless. So we'll see what happens. They're taking it seriously. There was rumors that Jeff Bezos, who's been flirting about wanting to own the Redskins for a long time, wanting to buy them, might have already bought them. But because of what's going on with Snyder right now, nothing has been set in stone yet, but I wouldn't be surprised that Snyder's going to be forced probably to sell the team, because if these allegations are true, it doesn't bode well for him or his upper executive team. So they need to have a new blood in there. And Bezos is really the only one right now who can afford it and has been vetted because he owns the Washington Post, which at the same time could be considered possibly as a conflict of interest. So he might have to drop his ownership of that, because what would stop him from promoting his team through the newspaper that he owns. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. But it's an ongoing story, and once we get more info about it, I will let you know. Speaking of sports, baseball is back on Friday, the 24th. As long as everything goes according to plan. We'll talk more about the new baseball season on next week's episode of Dylan Knows. I'm just writing that note for my notes for next week. Other stuff that's going on in the news this week, instant karma for the government as well. First of all, Kanye West's presidential bid was the shortest in history, lasted about 3 days, and he is gone. He's no longer running for president. Chuck Woolery, former game show host, went on a rant on Twitter talking about how it's stupid to wear your mask and COVID-19 is fake and all that stuff. And then literally like the next day, he came back and said, it's no joke, my son has COVID-19, and he deleted his account. So that's instant karma for you. And not that I want his son to get sick, but I find it interesting, and this is another one, is that the Oklahoma governor who was at that asshole's rally in Oklahoma has also gotten COVID-19. Another member of the government who was at that rally also got COVID-19. All these people who claim, write tweets and Facebook notes that says it's against my rights to wear masks, stuff like that. And then literally they write something a week later saying, oh my God, I have the COVID. I was so wrong. Maybe you should start looking at that instead of watching your stupid Fox News run by the Gestapo Nazis over there. And get your news from actual good sources and not biased. And maybe you'll see that this is no fucking joke, and wear your fucking mask before I slap you around again. Yeah. Sorry, I had to get that out of my system again. To get out over that, an app lets you de-stress. New app lets you de-stress by screaming into the Icelandic wilderness. I want to do that. Let's see if I can find it on my app. My app store. I'm just going to type in like Icelandic wilderness. Icelandic wilderness. Oops. Wilderness. No. Icelandic scream. Nope. Let's see. Let's just write scream. Scream. Nope. De-stress. Can't see. Anyway, there is a app that's not available in my app store where you can scream into the Icelandic wilderness. And that's kind of cool with nobody being around except for the elves. You might disturb them, but it might be a good way to de-stress. The PP plush looks like a plush penis. And it's cute. It has eyes and everything, but it is something you can now get. It's been advertised on Facebook, of all places. Let me see if I can find the PP plush. So go ahead and, did anybody respond to my stuff? No, didn't. Good. Let's see. The PP plush. This is what the PP plush looks like. See, it looks like a penis with eyes. So you can actually pick that up now and enjoy it. Your own PP plush penis. Whew. Rare twin ruffled lemurs were born at a Singapore zoo. We had twin elephants born last week. Now we have twin ruffled lemurs born this week. So there's a twin boom going on right now, which is pretty cool. Fortnite. I've been consistently playing Fortnite. I am now level 92. It goes to 100 and after that you can keep going higher, but you don't get anything else after going to 100. But that's interesting stuff going on this week. The water receded again, showing more land on the map. Also, the Aquaman and the Black Manta skins have been released. The Aquaman ones, you have to finish all the other Aquaman challenges and then go to a specific place where there's a trident. And if you find it, you get turned into Aquaman. And then in the Aquaman suit, you have to jump into Gorgeous Gorge and you'll get the shirtless Jason Momoa version of Aquaman. I've got both of them. I bought the Black Manta one because he's cool as well. And also the Renegade, the TikTok dance that's going crazy right now is now official Fortnite emote. And people already have it and are playing it like crazy. So next week is going to be the big update for Fortnite when cars will be available for you to drive around the island and the water will recede once again. So that's good on that. So we'll see. And I should be hitting level 100 probably by the end of next week as well. Getting pretty good. I had, excuse me. Yesterday I had 2 victory royales, which is in the Battle Royales is the top of the top. I won 2 games, those, so that was good. And feeling pretty good. I've been doing pretty good on that. So that's what's going on with that. All right. Next up, comic news. NBC Universal, along with Boom Studios, will be launching a new comic book company. The first comic book is going to be called UCP Graphic. And Boom Studios is going to be the one that's going to distribute it. But it's going to be run by NBC Universal. The first comic book they've got is coming from Grant Morrison, the fantastic writer of Doom Patrol, Animal Man, Justice League, The Flash, Green Lantern. What what was it? The Final Crisis. He did a run on Batman, and his stuff can be up or down for me. Sometimes it's really, really good. Sometimes it isn't. So it all depends. But he's done some really, really good stuff. He's done some really, what the hell are you thinking? He's currently writing Green Lantern right now. Haven't read it yet, but I've collected it. But he will be starting the NBC Universal off with his newest book called Proctor Valley Road, which actually sounds really interesting. It's about a group of teenage girls who are suspected in the disappearance of a group of teenage boys in a California beach town. Proctor Valley Road is an actual place where there is a cryptid supposedly sighted where people disappear. And I think that's what Grant Morrison was doing with this, is he's doing his version of it as well. So that could be very good. As I said, Boom Studios will be the one distributing it. Don't know when it will be out. All I know is that Grant Morrison's writing it. Don't know who's drawing it yet. I think they said who drew it, but I couldn't remember off the top of my head. But it'll probably be out maybe by the end of the year, possibly, through Boom Studios. Speaking of Boom Studios, and the great thing about Boom Studios is one of the guys I worked with at Diamond, Philip Sablik, is one of the big wigs over there. So it's always good to see him do real well with that. Boom Studios is going to be publishing a comic book that will be written by Keanu Reeves. It's called BRZRKR, which is Berserker, obviously, but it's spelled BRZRKR. So the hero looks like John Wick, Keanu Reeves, but I think he's an immortal. That's the hook of it. So we'll see what happens. So Boom is on a roll. We'll see if those books, but who knows when that one's going to come out. They just announced it this week again. It'll probably come out around the same time as Proctor Valley Road, which is just a really great name anyway. So I just like saying Proctor Valley Road. Should name the episode Proctor Valley Road and not Root Beer Milk, but oh well. Major League Baseball. As I said, baseball will be back on Friday, July 24th. But there will be no fans in the stands, obviously, because of COVID-19. So Major League Baseball will be blasting pre-recorded crowd noise into empty stadiums. Understandable. The NFL, what they've decided they're going to do is they're going to do half capacity stadiums right now when their stuff opens up in the fall, which means the Ravens have about 45 to 50,000 you could fit in their stadium. So it'll be dropped down to about 20 to 25,000 people per game. So that's understandable. Yasiel Puig, who was a pretty good player, was rumored to be signing with the Baltimore Orioles, my team. And then he turns around and signs the Atlanta Braves. So I was like, okay, well, we weren't ever going to really get him anyway. But then bad news hit. Unfortunately, Yasiel Puig has been infected with COVID-19. He will not be playing baseball this year. And has opted out of his contract with the Braves. So the Braves aren't paying him anything, and he's not playing baseball this year. So we hope him a quick recovery and hope he's okay. One other last interesting baseball news. The Toronto Blue Jays, American League team, the only American League baseball team that plays in Canada. And due to Canada and Mexico closing the borders because the United States are a bunch of fucking morons who can't even put on a mask to stop the spread of a massive disease in a pandemic time because they claim, oh, it's against my rights and all this bullshit, when they claim that other stuff that's actually against rights isn't against rights. So just a bunch of whiny little baby bitches who I want to stroke a cow. Shut up! So I have to get that out of my system again. Anyway, because of that, the borders have been closed between Mexico and Canada. So Americans cannot go into Canada, cannot go into Mexico. So because of that, the Toronto Blue Jays, because their team plays in Toronto, says, you ain't playing baseball in Toronto this year. We are refusing to allow you to play baseball in Toronto. So they will have to find another place to play. The most logical place will be Buffalo, New York, which is a hop, skip, and a jump from Toronto. And the reason why that would be a good place to play, not only because of the hop, skip, and a jump from Toronto, but there is a minor league team in Buffalo that I think is a minor league team for the Blue Jays. Anyway, and minor league baseball is not playing this year, so they've canceled the seasons for the minor league baseball. So the stadium is empty. It can only house about 16,000 people anyway. And besides, they're not playing in front of crowds anyway. So it makes perfect sense to move the Toronto Blue Jays to Buffalo for the 60-game baseball season. Now, the funny thing is, in the press release, Toronto's like, but if you somehow manage to make it to the finals or the postseason, by the fall comes, maybe things will clear up a little bit and you can come back. So they're hoping that we're not going to allow you to play regular season games in Toronto. But hey, if you make it to the playoffs and everything seems to be going good, guess what? You can come play in Toronto again. I just found that funny. I might be the only one who does, but I think it's funny. So that's going on about that. So yes, the Canadian and Mexican borders are now closed because Americans are stupid motherfuckers and don't know how to wear a mask just to go into stores and shit because they're stupid. It's just a small portion of people as well. I wear my mask all the time. Maryland is in the top 10 states that are doing well, though our the disease is going down, but it's going down steadily, not going like that, which would be a sign that we can open up quicker, but it's going steady. So it means we still got to be safe. The governor himself, who I've had issues with, he said, wear your damn mask when you're going out, stay at home and commute do your telework if you need to, just stay the hell home. And if you do go out, wear a fucking mask. He didn't say it that way, and that's why Maryland is in the shape it is and why places like Florida, Texas, Arizona, Nevada, California are all in shit shows because they're run by a bunch of fucking morons. Anniversaries. July 14th, 2000 was the 20th anniversary of the X-Men film, which was the original, was like the beginning of technically, you can make a case that Blade in '97 was the beginning of the modern day love of comic book movies. But Blade, while did very well, it did not do nearly as well as X-Men. When you had your first X-Men movie, which is a hugely popular comic book, Blade is not even a popular comic book. It was a good movie, but it wasn't a popular comic book. It spun off two movies that, the second one did really well, the third one was shit, and did shit as well. And then Wesley Snipes got into trouble. That's besides the point. But the X-Men is a team that everybody knows about. So when they came out with their movie in 2000, that basically sort of started this new obsession with comic book movies. Because then you think about it, 2000, you had X-Men. 2001, you had Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire. You throw in there like 2002, 2003, you got X-Men 2, which was one of the best superhero movies of all time. Then you throw Spider-Man 2, which is one of the big ones as well. You got Hellboy thrown in there as well, so he was a big thing as well. And then you got Batman Begins in there and Superman Returns, so it started the spiral. And the ones that did well, and the ones that didn't do well, didn't do well. And then, of course, 2008 happens, and that's when Iron Man hits, and that was when everything went crazy. But, yep, 20th anniversary of X-Men was this week. For those who've watched the show before, I've done 358 episodes. You know, one of my favorite TV shows of all time is Northern Exposure. I was unaware that they had an anniversary this week until I saw something posted on Monday, July 12th, almost a week ago. July 12th, 1990 was the night that the pilot episode of Northern Exposure aired, making it the 30th anniversary of Northern Exposure was this week. I remember the show because in 1990, having new shows on during the summer was considered novel. Not a lot of people did it. It was mostly the time where you dumped reruns and reality shows and brought back shows. Like I remember they brought back, because of the popularity of the Naked Gun movies, they brought back Police Squad and reran that, but it had already aired, so it wasn't like new material. It was on TV in the early 80s. Northern Exposure, though, was the difference. CBS decided they wanted to try an experiment. And so they, after watching the pilot episode, they did a pickup for, it was like 6 or 8 episodes of, I think it was six episodes of Northern Exposure. And they they picked it up in like the I guess they picked it up in this because it was summertime when the shows were shot, so it wasn't winter time. So I guess it was the previous fall that they had picked it up and decided they were going to dump it during the summer because they couldn't find a spot for it on its original lineup, and they only did 6 episodes. They figure, let's try something different. Let's do new stuff during the summer. So when the first episode came out, it did extraordinarily well in the ratings, and the other team networks were like, so people do want new material. So that's when things start spiraling. But those 6 episodes of Northern Exposure were hugely popular. Might not have been the best ones. They have a couple good ones in there, but they might not have been the best ones. But it did enough that it got people's interest up, so that they picked it up for a second season and did it as a mid-season replacement, which was additional 6 to 8 episodes for the second season. Again, they had some, including probably my favorite episode of all time. Well, no, maybe my first or second one favorite episode of all time was in that second season. All Is Vanity, one of the best hours of television you've ever seen, one of the funniest hours of television you've ever seen. So that was in the second season, and then that did gangbusters during the winter and spring as a mid-season replacement. So they're like, okay, I think we have a hit here. So they decided to renew it for a full 22 episodes for a third season that started in their September. Third season is one of the, if I had to list the top 10 greatest seasons of television shows of all time, season 3 of Northern Exposure would be in that list somewhere, maybe in the middle, around 5, 4. Every episode, with the exception of maybe 2, were phenomenal, were amazing, and made the show a cultural icon, a huge hit, and got its Emmy nominations and wins and stuff like that. And then the 4th season rolled out, and the first couple episodes were good, and then the season went downhill. It was not one of my particularly favorite seasons, and it was around that time that Rob Morrow, who played Joel Fleischman, thought that because they were so popular that he might be able to, push a movie, that wanted more money, and threatened to quit and start a movie career if he didn't get paid. He didn't get paid, and they put his character through the grind. And eventually, he acquiesced and signed on for another season. So did a 5th season. Again, not the best, but it had some good ones and some bad ones. And then about halfway through the 6th season, said, I'm done and I'm over with. And they're like, okay, that's fine. Now the show was starting to decline a little bit. So he left about halfway through the season. And then the show ended after the 6th season. But I love the show. One of my favorite shows. I watched it with my dad. My dad was the one that got me into it because he was watching it in 1990. So it was something that I always will associate with my dad. And it is such a great show. And then I got my mom hooked on it. So still a great show and well worth it. As I said, the entire season 3 of Northern Exposure is great. Now, unfortunately, the problem now is that it is not streaming anywhere because they have these rights to the music that they played are up in limbo right now. And I just wish they would get that settled and be able to keep the music so they could put it on a Netflix or a Hulu or a Disney Plus, for that matter. I don't care, or Amazon or something like that, so we can see every episode again. Because I've got all of them on DVD, but sometimes it might just be fun just to stream the stuff. Plus, it'd be great that I've always had a dream that I wanted to do a podcast / YouTube show like this with somebody else discussing every episode of Northern Exposure. And the one person that I picked had never seen it. So I was like, okay, this was like 3 or 4 years ago. I was like, okay, that makes a great idea. I've seen every episode. She hadn't seen any of them. We'll watch them together and we'll discuss them so that I can get it from a fresh perspective for someone who's never seen the show. And then I haven't seen these episodes in years, so give me a chance to re-see it. Maybe the episodes that I remember disliking might not be as bad as that I think they are, and then ones I thought were excellent might actually be kind of crappy. So we'll see if that ever's going to happen, but they need to work on that. They need to get the music rights worked out. They need to play the original music that was played during the show because it was so perfect. When they released the DVDs, they really didn't do that. They had to mix other music into it, which really sucked, particularly with the Chieftains that had a lot of their Celtic sort of style music was used in the show. They did not allow the rights to that, so they used something else that just did not give it the same quality that it did. Granted, the Enya was allowed to, and there's some great Enya episodes in there as well. But yeah, so one of the greatest episodes of all time was season 2, All Is Vanity. And then another one was, I forget the one in the 3rd season, which was a really good one. And also the Christmas episode was a good one too. So lots of good ones, and we'll see what happens. Also anniversary, not a great anniversary, but on July 16th, 1945, the United States tested their first nuclear bomb, and it became the new nuclear year. So the bomb was launched on July 16th. Actually, I guess it would be atomic bomb. It would be atomic bomb, not nuclear bomb, because we were testing the atomic bomb July 16th, 1945, and then we dropped the 2 on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in early August. So yeah, that's how that worked out. So that was the atomic bomb. So it was the first bomb we ever tested was on July 16th, 1945. 75, not 70 years ago, 75 years ago. I don't know where 70 years came from. 75 years ago. So that's kind of a depressing anniversary, but it's important. Hell, in Twin Peaks season 3, episode 8 that everybody knows about, David Lynch spends a whole episode about this bomb exploding in on July 16th, 1945, basically saying it opened a gateway for evil to show up, and that caused, the deaths of Laura Palmer and brought about evil and stuff like that with the arrival of Bob and Judy and stuff like that. So it was a weird episode that spent literally the whole episode just flying into the explosion and spinning around the explosion and seeing all the weird stuff going on. Then we had the burnt woodsman with the got a light and then crushing people's heads. So gotta love Twin Peaks season 3. By the way, Twin Peaks season 1 is probably also on my top 10 list of great seasons of all time for a TV show. Buffy season 3 is up there as well. So there's that. Hero season 1 is another one that is up there for one of the most perfect multiple seasons. Like Adventures in Briscoe County Jr. only lasted 1 season, but that 1 season was fantastic. So, so we'll say about that. Okay. I guess we'll talk about some death here real quick. It's about 48 minutes in. Makes sense. The big deaths this week. Big one that happened recently is a civil rights activist, congressman, writer of the 3-part March graphic novel, trade paperback that won the Pulitzer Prize. John Lewis passed away this week, actually passed away yesterday, I believe. He was ill, and it still, even though he was ill, it still hits hard. It was my feed was filled with people's remembrances of him. Also, the same day, a lesser known but just as important civil rights activist, C.T. Vivian, died as well the same day as civil rights person John Lewis. And in fact, I would guarantee you that these two knew each other and probably marched together with Dr. King in the 60s. Another big death this week is Kelly Preston, actress, who was married to John Travolta, but that wasn't the extent of her fame. She was in the movie Twins. She was in Space Camp. She was in Jerry Maguire. She was in, let me see what other movies. She was in a ton of movies. Those are just the ones I remember off the top of my head. Battlefield Earth, of course, because that was her husband. Let's see. She was in Christine, Space Camp, Amazon Women on the Moon, Twins, Only You, Waiting to Exhale, Citizen Ruth. She was in From Dusk Till Dawn. I forgot she was newscaster Kelly Huff. She was in Jerry Maguire, Holy Man, Jack Frost. She played the wife of Michael Keaton. For Love of the Game, she was the girlfriend of Kevin Costner's character. Battlefield Earth, she did that with her husband. The Cat in the Hat, she was in that. Sky High, she was in that as well. And the last movie she was in was Gotti, which I think was with John Travolta also. She played Gotti's wife in that one. So she was more than just John Travolta's wife. All right, I don't know if this is true or not, but I'm going to lay this. It just literally just came up on my feed. Seized Batmobile, Ecto-1, and DeLorean replicas to be auctioned by the feds. That's awesome. So there we go. That's just, I just happened to be on here and I happened to see that. That's funny. That's really, really funny. And it's not an onion or anything like that. So that's kind of funny. So Kelly Preston passed away this week. Also, Grant Imahara, a host of Mythbusters, White Rabbit Project, worked with Lucasfilms in the Star Wars stuff and sci-fi movie stuff like that. He died at the age of 49. Lots of remembrances from the sci-fi family with that one. Naya Rhea, I guess, Naya Rhea, the actress on Glee, who I talked about last week, who disappeared, and her son was found on a float by himself in the water, and they couldn't find his mom. Well, they found her. She passed away this week, drowned, which was a shame. Benjamin Keogh, son of Lisa Marie Presley and Elvis Presley's grandson, died at the age of 27 this week. Joanna Cole, writer of Magic School Buses, the Magic School Bus books, died this week as well. Galen Goeg, I think it was like a Dutch or something like that. A character actress, was on various TV shows like Mantis, Twin Peaks, RoboCop 2, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, shows like that. Star Trek, passed away this week as well. She was a character actress who's been in a ton of genre films. Maurice Roas was an actor on Star Trek and Doctor Who. He passed away this week as well. And Zmizi Mueller, Nelson Mandela, Nelson Mandela's daughter, died at the age of 59 this week as well. So some pretty big deaths this week as well. Fish was photographed that has human lips and teeth. It looks like it was photoshopped. It looked like literally someone doing this, and they took that part of it and put it on a fish's mouth, but it's an actual fish who has lips and a teeth, and that's kind of scary. Danica Patrick unfollowed Aaron Rodgers on Instagram. Could this be the beginning of the end for the happy couple? We'll see what happens. James Patterson, famous writer, and Cornelia Nast will be restarting The Shadow in a new book series. The pulp hero who made a great underrated movie in 1994. Alec Baldwin played the Shadow, and has been in comics and was a pulp hero in the 1930s and 20s, stuff like that, and was in books, stuff like that. We'll be getting a new book series. I'm really excited about it. When I saw that news, I was like, that's actually really interesting, and to have James Patterson involved with it is even cooler. So I'm looking forward to that. Once those books come out, I will be reading those, I'll tell you that much. Speaking of reading, I finished, as I said, In the Garden of Beasts this week, which was written by Eric Larson, talking about the rise of fascism and the Nazi Party in Germany in the 1930s, while being eyewitnessed by the American ambassador. Interesting story. Learned some stuff I didn't know, but it was more of a focus on the American ambassador's family and the issues that he had to deal with, including his daughter, who was very promiscuous, who also went on a date with Adolf Hitler, and also was involved with, was it Reels, who was the head of the SS or the SA or something for a while, was a major player in the Nazi government, who was, unlike the other Nazis, really was the one who was trying to, stick the way Germany was, and wasn't really into the whole Nazi stuff, but he did stuff that he needed to do. So she was involved with that. So I read that. I finished the Zodiac Unmasked, which is Robert Graysmith's follow-up to his Zodiac book. This book was just not as good as the Zodiac book. The Zodiac book's fantastic because it gave a real detailed account of the Zodiac murders and all the stuff that happened with that. This book was just basically him trying to hammer in our head that his suspect was the right one, and just kept repeating the same things over and over again through the whole book about how this guy is the Zodiac person, and that, it's this guy, and he just kept pushing and pushing, and just like after a while, it's just like, we get it, dude, we get it, shut the hell up. The only interesting thing about the book really was we learned a little bit about the two Zodiac copycats. One hit New York in the late 90s and one hit Japan in the early 2000s. So that was kind of disturbing, but it was at the same time more interesting than the constant barrage. This is the guy, and the constant repeating, this is why. Yes, you said that like 20 pages ago. You said it again 20 pages ago, and then 20 pages before that, 40 pages ago, and then 20 pages. So they just kept bashing your head in about us. It's like, okay, I'm glad I finished that. And now I know more about the Zodiac. I also finished my fiction book, The Andromeda Evolution, which started off really, really slow. It's the sequel to the Andromeda Strain. Started off really, really slow, but once it reached a certain point, it started spiraling into another direction. It became much more interesting, a lot more science fiction-y than the book that it was based on. Michael Crichton was the original writer of it. Michael Crichton's name is prominent on this book, even though he died in 2008. But still, was prominent up there, and the writer of the actual writer of the book wrote Robocalypse, which Steven Spielberg wanted to turn to a movie years ago with Chris Hemsworth and still hasn't yet. But it was more science fiction-y than it was science-y. Andromeda Strain was very science-y. This was more science fiction-y, but again, that was okay. And as I said, once you got past the slog of the first 100 pages or so, it worked out really good. Now I'm in the middle of reading about the I forget the name of the book right now, but it's about the people who moved out to the West after we won the American Revolution, and we got the land that was Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, and the people who go out there. I started reading that, and so now I've also got some other ideas. I might read Eric Larson's book, The Devil in the White City, about a serial killer based on a true story who killed people at the World's Fair in Chicago at the turn of the century. I might read some Alaska books that I got. I also got a book about a American ship in the 1940s that went through the Arctic to try to get to Russia to give them supplies, but were attacked constantly by German U-boats. So I got a couple of guys, plus I got all these other ones I got to read. So we'll see coming up, but that's what's going on with that. So I can't wait to read these Shadow ones as well. I'm actually going to, Ali Molina, Kenan Thompson, and Chris Parnell joined Disney Plus's Home Alone reboot. I knew that they were going to do a Home Alone reboot, and one of the young actors from Jojo Rabbit is going to be in it. I don't know if it's the main character or if it's his buddy, but they're going to be the Macaulay Culkin character. So they are doing a remake of Home Alone. If they've been cast, they're either going to try to air it by December, film it really soon. We'll see. Olive Garden to bring back the foot-long chicken parmesan. I like chicken parmesan, and it looks pretty good. Noah Centineo has been cast as Adam Smasher in The Rock's version of Black Adam, which has been on the books for close to probably 10 years now. They keep talking about it, and eventually it's going to get made. And now Noah Centineo has been cast as Adam Smasher. It seems to be a lot closer than expected. United talent agency has broken ranks with the rest of the agents in Hollywood during the writer's strike and has struck a deal with Hollywood writers. So hopefully the Hollywood writer's strike will be over shortly with the fact that that happened. President Obama, Joe Biden, Elon Musk, Apple, and many other blue-checked Twitter accounts were hacked this week. Funnily enough, ones that weren't hacked were pro-Trump ones. I wonder what that's about. But Twitter, to be safe, until they figured out what happened, they shut down every single blue checkmark Twitter account, which are the celebrities, stuff like that, until they figured out what they were going to do. But yeah, how convenient that only anti-Trump accounts were saved, while anti-Trump accounts and ones that considered to be enemies of Trump were hacked. I wonder about that. Probably just a coincidence. Dumbass motherfuckers. Excuse me. Yeah, I did that already, so I did that one. I can check that one off. Pickle juicers are coming. If you love your pickle juices, now you can get them in water bottle size containers and just chug your pickle juices. Supposedly they're good for you. To me, it's just sort of like a mixture of salt water, vinegar, and whatever else, just sour, bitter stuff. And it's like, that's nothing good for me. But hey, if you like it, you go for it. You go for it, man. Texas teenagers have decided that they're going to dress up as old ladies with wigs and old lady wigs and fake breasts and sweaters and stuff like that, and wear masks over their face, so all you see in old lady glasses and old lady hair. So they're going to try to get alcohol from liquor stores. So what they're hoping for is that they dress up like an old lady. So they wear old lady clothes. They look like they have breasts. They have old lady glasses. They got gray hair. They put like in bonnets and stuff like that. And they put the mask over their face so you can't tell if it's male or female. And then, because older ladies are, more small, you go into your liquor store and you buy your alcohol and you hope that they don't see through your disguise, because most times they'll see an old lady and go, okay, she doesn't need to show us her ID, because to be honest, I haven't had to show my ID in a long time at liquor stores because I'm old. And they know I'm old. They know I'm not a teenager. But, hopefully, some people might be able to see through it. But if they can't, it's actually kind of an ingenious thing to do. Pokemon Go. I'm wearing my Pokemon shirt because tomorrow is Community Day. It's Ghastly. I don't think Ghastly's on here, but Haunter is. Haunter is the evolution of Ghastly. I was going to wear my new Gengar shirt, but unfortunately it is too small for me, which is a shame because I really, really like it. And I got it for my birthday, but oh well. Even though they got me a 2XL, it's just extraordinarily tight. Maybe I'm just a big fat ass and I need to lose some weight. But it's Community Day tomorrow, Ghastly Community Day. It's going to be brutally hot here in Maryland. So it's going to be a brutal day to go out. So we might just stay inside and do everything, because you can do stuff inside now. But we like to go out for walks anyway and try to do it. We'll see how the temperature goes tomorrow. But the Friend event is going on. The last in the Pokemon Go Fest events is happening this week. I'm almost done the research already, and it's only been on since Friday. So I'll be done probably tomorrow. And then next weekend is going to be Pokemon Go Fest time. So I'll probably be talking about that as well on the show. Baseball is back. Pokemon Go Fest. I'm also, next week is the 51st anniversary of the moon landing, and I'm going to show my daughter one of my favorite movies of all time, The Dish, set around the moon landing. So hopefully she will like it as much as I do. But anyway, also raid invites are now live in Pokemon Go. And also raid passes. Used to be if you did a raid pass and then you X'd out before you lost the raid pass. Well, now you won't. It won't actually be removed from you until you start battling. So that's a new thing as well. So we got all that going on in Pokemon Go right now. So that's your day in Pokemon Go right now. Hayden Christensen is rumored to be returning to live-action Star Wars show on Disney Plus. And what I find funny about that is he was awful in all three movies. Even in Revenge of the Sith, he was still awful. He was awful. And not entirely his fault, because he's shown that he has the acting chops in other movies. But just in these movies, he just was awful. He wasn't in Phantom Menace. He was in Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. He was awful. And I'm seeing all these articles about him coming back, and everybody's like, oh, sweet, this is fantastic news. It's like, no, it isn't. You hated him. Why did all of a sudden you guys are like, we love him? No, you don't. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So whatever. Shark Week is still coming. It's still happening. And this year, Mike Tyson will be fighting a great white shark. I have no idea how he's going to do it or why or what, but he said he will be fighting a great white shark. And that's not The Onion. It is an actual thing. So we'll see. I don't know. It might be worth just checking out anyway. Burger King's new sustainability plan will help reduce cow farts, which sends methane into the air, which destroys our ozone layer, by feeding their cows lemongrass. So lemongrass, I guess, if you feed your cows that, they will not do disgusting methane gas. Instead, they'll just do nice, sweet little farts that won't destroy the ozone. So that's pretty cool. Murder Hornets made an appearance. They arrived in the early part of 2020 as part of the story. Everybody was making the jokes like they were introduced and then nothing came up about them. Well, we discovered the reason why is because Murder Hornets will not be able to colonize here in the United States. So they will be dying out very shortly anyway and will not be able to get a foothold into the United States. So huzzah, we have a success. KFC to do another test run of their plant-based fried chicken. Apparently it did really, really well the last time, so they're going to do it again. Oh, I forgot about him and the deaths. That's right. I cut it off a little too soon. This is more local news, so I can actually fit this more to local news. Death this week also was Howard B. Gerber, who was the longtime owner of the Horseshoe Cayman Saloon in Fells Point near downtown Baltimore. The reason why that is it is one of the oldest saloons in the United States, and it is historical because Edgar Allan Poe was found unconscious outside of the Horseshoe Cayman Saloon down in Fells Point, and then later on died in Baltimore. So it is a historical landmark, and the longtime owner of it has passed away. It is also supposedly haunted, and we'll see if that is the case. We did a bar ghost hunt, a ghost tour of Fells Point, and that was one of the locations we went to. So didn't see anything, but still. The Walking Dead comic will be getting a full color release with every issue will be coming out in color starting in October with some new material involved. So basically they're redoing every single episode of every single issue of The Walking Dead, because it was a black and white comic, all 100 through like 191 or something like that. They'll be re-releasing them once a month over the next 4 years, whatever it was that it took for the series to go. And it'll be full color instead this time with some added material. And I was like, I already have the books. I really don't need it for anything else. And I just think it's beating a dead horse, and you don't really need to do it. And I don't know if it's going to actually sell that well because the black and white made it unique and different, and you don't need to colorize everything. So I'm not buying it, but hey, fans of The Walking Dead, if you want to buy the early issues in color, be my guest. I guess it wasn't really when I was growing up, but when I was younger, I guess when I was in high school, I guess, maybe even college, I still like some old school sort of kid stuff. And one of my favorite shows, believe it or not, was on the public television called Wishbone. It was about a dog, Jack Russell Terrier, a dog that, you know, they had him dress up and they did um, famous novels like The Three Musketeers or Oliver Twist or Christmas Carol or Macbeth or stuff like that. And they would frame an episode present day with the dog and his owners, um, with the story that was going on in the book, and then the dog would say, "I was reminded of this from when I read, um, Call of the Wild," and then it would flash back to him dressed up as the Call of the Wild dog and stuff like that. So they're going to be doing a Wishbone movie, and I think that's kind of cute. It was a really neat story. It was educational. It got people into reading classic novels, and you get to see a cute little dog dressed up in costumes, portraying the roles made famous. He was Sherlock Holmes in one, stuff like that. So it should be interesting to see what they decide to do for a movie version of it. Hey, guess what? It's almost Christmas in July. That would be next weekend, where Christmas is only going to be 5 months away. Christmas Eve is going to be 5 months away on Friday. Christmas Day, 5 months away on Saturday. So, hey, now's the time to talk about sugar cookie flavored M&Ms, which will be coming out for Christmas. Last week I talked about Halloween candy. M&Ms are going to be releasing their sugar cookie M&Ms for Christmas 2020. They might sound good. They've done a pretty good job with these type of M&Ms. The interior of the M&Ms, when they're these special flavored ones, are a bit thicker, so the M&Ms are a bit bigger. So it should be interesting to see what this one tastes like. It's probably going to taste pretty good. More Republican bullshit, but this is more religious Republican bullshit. Pat Robertson, he knows why COVID-19 has happened. Do you want to know why COVID-19 happened? This is why COVID-19 happened. COVID-19 happened because oral sex happens. Men give oral pleasure to their wives, and the lady chemicals that get secreted from the woman's vagina after coming from oral sex carries COVID-19 and makes people sick. Said, we never had this issue, and we never did oral sex when I was growing up. Well, apparently oral sex has been around since, I don't know, Shakespeare's time. So you can just shut the hell up, Pat Robertson, you stupid religious person who's not even that religious because you don't even believe in the teachings of Christ because you're a mean son of a bitch, asshole, racist motherfucker. Lady chemicals, please. Morons. Lakefront Hotel, I don't know where that is, was evacuated after a guest was found making homemade bombs in their room. So, hey, that's great. Hey, homemade bombs are still being made in this time of COVID. Fantastic. Hey, my first kiss practice lips are now available. So if you want to practice your first kiss before you actually do it, go to the toy store or whatever and pick up a My First Kiss practice lips. They are lips that you can practice your kissing on. I am not kidding whatsoever. Can't use your hands anymore? Yeah, Michigan man refused service for not wearing a mask, stabs customer, and is shot to death by the police. Instant karma, crazy assholes. And a Canadian man refused service for not wearing a mask, runs over a person, killed by police also. I think that might be the same story that I told earlier about that. So I'm not going to go crazy anymore. Wear your goddamn mask, people. Save a life. It's not that big of a deal. My favorite thing is we're talking about lady chemicals and oral sex. As someone commented, is these people who feel that wearing a cloth mask over their mouth is uncomfortable. Apparently, they've never had a woman sit on your face. So they probably haven't. Hey, one of the best movies in the 1980s, even though the actor is a huge asshole, Chevy Chase, is Fletch. And they've been trying to do a reboot of Fletch because they're the whole series of books, and the sequel to Fletch was awful. So for years they've been trying to get it. Kevin Smith was close. I thought his version might have been good, but in this case, they finally do have a new Fletch in the form of John Hamm. He will be playing Fletch in a new reboot, so that could be interesting. We'll see how that goes. The original Fletch is still a classic, and because there are so many different books you can choose from, you don't necessarily have to reboot the original Fletch movie. Just make a separate one based on one of the other books, and you'll be fine. You don't need to redo the original Fletch. You can just do it like a James Bond thing where, hey, the person changed, and we're not going to say anything about it. Ben Stiller, who hasn't really been around too much, but remember, he is a director and a star, will be starring and directing in his first ever Stephen King adaptation. He will be doing an adaptation of Stephen King's short story Rat. I don't know anything about it, but Ben Stiller's involved with it, so that could be pretty interesting. The Winnebago Heli Home, a real flying RV, is something that needs to make a comeback. Apparently, it was something big in the 90s, I guess. And now it needs to come back because, hey, why not? There are corn on the cob holders that look like Mickey Mouse's gloves. So if you want to live your Disney life but can't go to Disney or don't want to go to Disney because of the pandemic, you can get your corn holders to look like Mickey Mouse's gloves. An idea people had is if you leave the airplane middle seats open, you might help stop the spread of the pandemic, coronavirus, whatever you want to call it. You get your social distancing, and you're not putting as many people in an airplane, and most people will not get infected. So that's a pretty good idea as well. Continuing the musical theme where popular movies are being turned into musicals, the newest one, The Lost Boys, the vampire film with the Coreys and Kiefer Sutherland, is now being turned into a musical prequel. So we'll have a vampire prequel to Lost Boys with singing vampires and stuff like that. Could be fun. Missouri School District is asking parents to sign a COVID-19 death waiver for children. So, they're going to open up because Missouri is moronic also and under the control of the uneducated, ignorant, asshole Republicans who think we need to open up the schools, even though they don't meet and say that it's not, they believe it's not safe to meet in person, but they're going to let our kids and teachers and workers, possibly get infected and get killed, just so that it would look like things are back to normal, which is a bunch of bullshit because you're not allowed to force that stuff. It's up to the states. But because a bunch of states are kowtowing to that asshole in the White House, they're doing it. But Missouri is, so they are actually having people sign death waivers. Basically means that we're going to open the schools, whether you like it or not. But if your kids go, just sign this waiver. So if they die of COVID-19, you can't sue us. And that is like the most awful, disturbing thing, and nobody's going to say a damn thing about it because nobody ever does anymore. Texas teachers are writing their wills as the state is deciding they're going to open schools in the fall as well. So teachers are now in danger, and they are writing their wills because they think they're going to die. Again, unbelievable. I have no words. 85 babies were found to have COVID-19 in Texas. 4 dead, 25 hospitalized in Arizona after people drank hand sanitizer with methanol because that idiot said that's what you need to do to clean yourself out, and these people are morons. Empire Strikes Back tops the box office this week because of the drive-in movie theater, stuff like that. So 40 years after it came out, Empire Strikes Back is back on top in the movie theaters. Comic book sales. This is a two-part storyline. Comicsgate is a group of a-hole guys who think they're alphas, but they're a bunch of whiny little bitches who think that, comics are dying because comic industries are kowtowing to women and people of color. They want their heroes to be white because they're fucking racist motherfuckers. They want their heroes to be white and the women to be sexy and not have brains and just sit around so they can show their tits and their ass and be fucked by the heroes all the time, or be the ones that need to get saved, or in these tight outfits and stuff like that. They feel that's that's the way comics should be. So the comic skaters are a bunch of fucking morons. And one of the things they said is that we have proof comic book sales are down all over the place because people are tired of seeing these superheroes, that comics that are led by females or people of color. They need to be back to white people so we can live our lives the way we were. Well, it was just proved this week that comic book sales have actually hit record highs last year, an all-time record high last year. So that pretty much goes boom, boom, boom to your theory about comic books sales declining because of that. They're actually skyrocketing because of it, because you're a bunch of fucking morons. That being said, also, Dynamite Comics has always been an interesting comic. They do mostly comics based on licenses. And there was some stuff I liked, but I never really read too much about them. Well, they are now signed and in bed with the Comic Skaters, and they're going to start distributing the Comic Skate stuff as yeah, I'm not going to do that anymore. So I haven't been collecting them anyway, so I'm not even going to think about Dynamite anymore. So end of that. New horror movie was shot entirely on Zoom. It will debut on Shudder. So, hey, people have been finding creative ways to still make movies during this time. And this horror film based at a Zoom meeting will be airing on Shudder very soon. Class Action Park is a documentary on New Jersey's most dangerous amusement park. Will be popping up on Netflix soon enough. Will be your next big tiger, whatever the hell that tiger shit was. I don't even watch that shit anymore. Speaking of tiger tail Twinkies are back. They were the ones when Twinkies retired and people clamored for it. They decided not to release Twinkies. They decided to release something called Tiger Tails, which had like an orange cream in it, but were the same as Twinkies except for the orange cream. And then Twinkies came back, and the Tiger Tails disappeared. Well, people sort of missed the Tiger Tails, and they said, "Hey, Twinkies, can you do that?" Twinkies like, "Yeah, we got you home." So they are doing that. Funfetti chocolate chips taste like vanilla birthday cake are your new thing now. So you can have your cookies that taste like vanilla birthday cake. That might be pretty interesting for Christmas coming up too. Taco Bell is going to be redoing their menu. They are going to be getting rid of the quesaritas, nachos, 7-layer burrito, Frito stuff. They're moving breakfast stuff to breakfast only instead of all day. So they're doing some different things as well. An English pub installed an electric fence to reduce, people confining around the bar, give them a little bit of space. So they put an electric fence so that they're not too close to the bar, or else they're going to get shocked, or too close to other people, or else they're going to get shocked. So I think that's pretty interesting. Death Valley has set the planet's hottest temperature in years this week at 128 degrees as a high. It's the hottest anywhere on the planet since 2017, due in fact to this heat wave. It's a lot worse out west, obviously, but there is a massive heat wave that has hit the United States this week. We had high humidity and high 90s yesterday. We had low humidity and high 90s today. We're going to have high humidity and high 90s again tomorrow. Things are going to drop down to high humidity and mid 90s on Monday. And it's going to drop down again to low 90s with high humidity for the rest of the week. And by the weekend, it might be around 89 degrees with less humidity. But we're looking at a prolonged heat wave here on the East Coast. And I hate my life because I hate summer and I hate heat. So disgusting. California shuts down movie theaters, restaurants due to their surge in COVID-19 cases. At least they're doing a job where Florida's like, we have the worst COVID-19 patients and deaths and positives in the country, but hey, we're going to stay open because, the governor is a asshole licker to the asshole in charge. So fuck him. Yellowstone grizzlies were made safe from trophy hunters on a court order. despite what the asshole in charge was trying to do. So, fuck you, asshole in charge. Yellowstone Grizzlies rule, man. Dancing with the Stars fires both Tom Bergeron and Aaron Andrews. They had been hosting for close to 18 years. They're going to be going in a whole new direction. So that's going on. A squirrel has tested positive for bubonic plague in Colorado. Again, it's more of a scare tactic. Bubonic plague, there is actually a vaccine for it. So if you do have bubonic plague or contract it, you will be able to get a vaccine for it and you'll be fine. But still, it's kind of weird that, hey, that's happening like that. The Washington, D.C. Metro has agreed to a solar power deal. They are going to be solar powering their subway cars, metro cars, the metro stations, stuff like that. So that's pretty good. Clean environment, clean green stuff. Even though the murder bees are not going to be able to colonize, we do have aggressive bees. They have forced the closure of the Joshua Tree campground due to their forcing themselves onto people camping out there. Disney World opened last week or this week to big crowds, but there's been huge spikes in COVID-19 contraction, but they're staying open. But Hong Kong's Disneyland, they opened after they thought everything was under control, but they got the second wave. They are closing Hong Kong Disney again. There's a new Star Wars animated series based during the time of the Clone Wars called The Bad Batch, about a group of clone troopers who were introduced in this final season called The Bad Batch that was, clones that were not perfect, that have different things. They are going to be getting their own show so they can keep playing in the Clone Wars toy box. A massive Friday the 13th box set will be coming soon. I think there's a Friday the 13th later this year, so I think they'll probably release it on that date. Makes a lot of sense. So if you want to get every one of the Friday the 13th movies, I guess it would be all the original ones and then maybe even the remakes. That's 13 plus movies. Might even have Freddy versus Jason in there. So that might be a good one as well. So there you go, Friday the 13th. If you're fans of that, it's massive Blu-ray sets coming soon. There was a story came out this week about a young boy, I guess he was about 8-10 years old, whatever, who protected his younger sister from an attack by a dog. He took the brunt of the attack. The dog bit portions of his face off and has massive scars on there, caused lots of pain, but he saved his sister, and eventually the dog got taken care of. His story has gone viral, as it should, because he is a true hero. He saved his little sister while suffering the pain and anguish of massive dog bites and tears to his face. He's also a huge fan of Captain America. So once Captain America heard about this, Chris Evans called him up, discovered his phone number, and said, "Hey, little man, you're a true hero, and to show how awesome you are from protecting your sister, I'm going to send you an actual Captain America shield." And that's fantastic. And then Robert Downey Jr. discovered about it also. He said he's going to send something massive as well to this boy for being a hero too. So that's kind of great that that stuff's going to happen. And who knows what else is going to happen. But it's great that that sort of stuff is happening. The Las Vegas reopening has gone badly. They've been reopened since June 4th, casinos, stuff like that, but about 100 plus cases in one casino alone has slowed it down, and people coming to that. Plus the spike in Nevada's COVID-19 cases has caused less and less people to be going to the Las Vegas gambling casinos, and making the casino owners think maybe we shouldn't have opened up as early because you're an idiot. Just came over the wire. Japan is going to pay their companies to leave China, so that they are not going to be working in China and getting any Chinese stuff anymore. So that's good on that. I think I talked about this last week, but I'm just going to bring it up again. A walking shark has been discovered that can walk on land in the Indo-Australia archipelago. Just another one of those things. The funny things is like, oh no, not walking sharks now, added to 2020 stuff. Motorized pool tubes are coming this summer. The little tire tubes too. They're now going to be motorized, so you can truck along in your big swimming pools or whatever, stuff like that. I'm going to go to Twitter on this because I have the full list on here. Likes. Yep. So I talked earlier about Robert Kirkman's The Walking Dead comic about coming back out in colorization. Well, one of Robert Kirkman's other popular comics was Invincible. It was about a superhero. And it was I read a bunch of the early stuff, and then I sort of lost track of it, so I don't know what has actually happened. It's not on sale anymore. I think they ended it. But it is getting an animated series. And it's Amazon's animated series, and the entire cast of Amazon's Invincible has been announced. And here are the voices that will be in this. Stephen Yeun, who was in one of the main characters in the Walking Dead TV show. J.K. Simmons, J. Jonah Jameson. Zachary Quinto, Spock and Sylar. Carrie Payton, who is Cyborg from Teen Titans. Zazie Beetz, I don't know that name. Chris Diamantopoulos, don't know them either. Walton Goggins, who is the bad guy in Ant-Man the Wasp. Gray Griffin, don't know that one. Kevin Michael Richardson, don't know that name. Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker, Joker, whatever. Jillian Jacobs, Malise, Jason Mantzoukas, Andrew Rannells, and Seth Rogen have all been cast in voice cast for the Invincible cartoon show. It's a pretty massive, good cast and should be interesting. It's going to be on Amazon soon, and it is going to be animated, which is the perfect venue for Invincible because it's a pretty interesting series. So good on that. So the final story of the week, as I said at the beginning of the show, was going to counter my rant about the Gestapo being in America now. Apparently, the Gestapo is scared of naked women and their lady chemicals, probably, because a naked woman who saw this going on decided to walk down the street where she saw a bunch of these Gestapo types. So she was completely naked. Except she had a mat. She put the mat down on the road, and she sat down on the road and started doing naked yoga. A couple of the police officers approached her a little bit. The Gestapo, I'm sorry, they're not police officers, the Gestapo approached her, were unsure about what was going on, and they ran off like little bitches, scared of a naked woman and her lady chemicals. So a good ending to this episode, about an hour and a half in, no issues. Next week, we're going to be looking at Christmas in July, Pokemon Go Fest, baseball will be back, and any other crazy, insane stuff that's going to be happening. We will find out this week. Also, the 51st anniversary of the moon landing, and I'll be able to be showing my daughter one of my favorite movies of all time, The Dish, on Monday. Interesting stuff going on. So thanks for watching, and be safe out there, and see you in quarantine, and wear your freaking mask, people, seriously.